So JD Vance reminded his European bureaucratic globalist counterparts that they need to remember why they are fighting what they are fighting, not just know who they are fighting. I think this is a very pertinent, very sharp, critical, and crucial pointing out of what is erroneous in many of the European approaches of today when it comes to international geopolitics, when it comes to how it handles conflicts around the world, especially those most closely pertaining to itself, and also those that are a little far away from its shores. Now, Europe doesn't have a problem of knowing who they should fight against, right? They know that they should defend Ukraine against Russia. That is correct. Nobody is saying that is wrong. They know China, CCP, is the ultimate enemy of the whole world, and something and an entity we need to guard against and, be very wary of. And Europe has got that right as well. Europe also knows that Taiwan is a good friend, even if we do not have official diplomatic ties with Taiwan. It is an important partner. It is an ally in democracy and freedom, and it is a sovereign independent nation that needs to be defended against the encroachment of the People's Republic of China. So it is getting many things right? It is getting the who right. Even on Israel, right? Germany is a very staunch ally of Israel even until today. Even though at the same time, Europe is a little 50-50 when it comes to Israel-Palestine, but at least 50 and not 0. So Europe hasn't a problem with knowing who they should fight against. But they have a problem, it seems, knowing what they themselves are fighting for when they fight their fight for whoever and against whoever they are fighting for or against. They get the who correct, but they are not getting the what, the why, the how correct. So JD Vance was there to lecture them on this. What are you really fighting for? What are the values that you need to stand firmly with as you negotiate or handle these geopolitical problems? And I think that is spot on, right? Because without knowing what you're fighting for, that is why for the last 4 years under the Biden leadership and the continued corrupt bureaucratic leadership we have in the EU, the world is the way it is. Israel, Ukraine, even Taiwan, facing constant, continuing threat from the bad guys. Because even though the EU and Biden stands with the good guys, but you're not doing it in an effective way. You're not deterring your enemy in an effective way. You are not making your enemies scared of you. They are laughing at you. And most importantly, you yourself are not a good example of liberty and democracy. And that I think is the worst part, right? Because if it is only a problem of competency, then we can improve that competency, right? We can raise the levels and standards as long as at least the mindset, the mentality, and the approach is right. But even your mentality is wrong, if even your mentality is wrong, if even at home, in terms of the domestic politics, you are exercising exactly what you accused the CCP, Russia of doing, censoring hate speech, politically incorrect content, narrative, dialogue that you do not agree with, you are doing exactly, maybe not to the same extent or degree, but the thinking is the same. The idea that only my way of thinking is correct and every other way of thinking needs to be pressed down. That same CCP style, right? Soviet style of thinking needs to be addressed, needs to be changed first before we even talk about how we want to tackle the problems of the world. Because without that, firstly, you're not setting a good example. Secondly, you're not having your citizens stand with you in a united manner because they respect you as their democratic leader and therefore are willing to stand together with you against the real enemies. And also, when you get those things right, when you get common sense right, when you get your focus on correctness instead of political correctness, suddenly, you find yourself in a more effective position to tackle the problems of the world. Suddenly, you take the common sense, most effective, most cost-effective, most practical and efficient approach to solving a lot of the geopolitical problems, including Taiwan, including Ukraine, including Israel. So JD Vance's decision to talk about Europe's domestic politics instead of just focusing on Ukraine and Russia and CCP at a conference of national security, military security in Munich, Germany is the exactly correct thing to do. Exactly correct thing to do, right? He wasn't interfering in Europe's internal politics. He has no interest in doing so. He already says you do not need to agree with him, right? Nowhere did he say or did he instigate, right, that it is the American way or the highway. Even though, of course, America is the leader and you fucking G-Bys ought to follow suit. But more than that, it is more about you fuckers standing up for what is right, respecting your own fucking citizens, their voice, their aspirations, their opinions, instead of casting them aside and pushing them down. For once, respecting them like what a liberal democracy would do. That was the message. It was not about interfering with EU politics and wanting some regime change. Of course, we should have regime change if the current regime is a nonsensical, corrupt one, right? But it is not up to him to decide. It is not up to the EU bureaucrats to decide. It is up to the European people, the electorate, the voters, to decide, and also, of course, the leaders in EU itself to wake up to the idea and to start respecting their people. That was what Vance was trying to say. So the response by these EU fuckers saying, he's trying to interfere with our politics. Oh, it is so unacceptable that he is saying that our own domestic illiberal ways are, a greater threat to democracy than the dangers that Russia poses. Yeah, he is not wrong to say that. JD Vance is not wrong to say that you fuckers, your illiberal ways is a greater threat to democracy than Russia. Of course it is. Why isn't it? Because Russia's military might and Russia's ability to threaten the world is limited, as we can see from their super prolonged invasion and takedown of Ukraine, which at first they thought would be finished in 2 days, but it took more than 2 years. So you can see the limit of Russia's threat. By contrast, the enemy within is a greater threat because day in and day out, across the entirety of Europe, not just Ukraine itself, across the entire Europe, these citizens who are supposed to live a free life, these citizens who are supposed to live in the free world, are suppressed, censored, and bullied every single day under your authoritarian leftist regime. That is the message. So stop telling me, right, that JD Vance should mind his own business and that we should mind our own business when you fuckers never ever let us mind our own business. Right? You fuckers are the ones who day in, day out want to interfere with how people think, with how people talk, with how people write, with how people post on the internet, and with how people use social media, even down to how, whether they want to take the vaccine, whether they want to wear a mask, whether they want to stay at home, and their bank accounts, right? If you can freeze the bank accounts of people protesting, you are not a democracy. Okay? So all the way from woke Canada, all the way to woke Germany, France, and many parts of Europe. My message to you is this. You have lost. Shut up. You have lost. Shut the fuck up. You have lost all respect that we, the people of the world, have for you. That is my message to you. Sad to say. Right? And it is not because you are the bad guys. We know you are the good guys. We know you are still on the side of the good. That is for sure. Right? You are not the bad guys who are Russia, CCP, China, Iran, Hamas. These are the bad guys. And we all know that. But because of you fuckers in the EU and most of the woke West, these bad guys have had a hell of a day. That was the problem. The problem was that you weren't capable, effective deterrents of these bad actors' threat. That was the problem. So JD Vance was there to tell you what the problem was and for you to have a wake-up call on that. He's putting you on alert because America is not going to help you. And America, neither does America need your help. Right? Because you're not in a position to help anyone anyway. But you need to help yourself. Right? You do not need to help America. America will not help you. You need to help yourself starting today. Stop wasting your time, money, and resources on the unnecessary nonsense things. All right? And start putting your hands and your legs where your mouth is. Right? If you think deterring China is important, then I want to see you doing that. Right? If you think that defending Ukraine is important, then I want to see you putting in more resources, more money, more military assistance whenever it takes to help. I do not want to see your mouth moving without your hands and legs moving. All right? Enough of that. America is not coming to save you because you don't deserve it. Neither do you need to think of influencing America in any way. To hell with that. You are in no position, no moral authority to do that. All right? So go back to your own places, go back to your own caves, and fix your cave before I get to see your mouth move and utter some bloody nonsense again. All the way from Canada, to New Zealand, to Britain, all the way to Germany, France, and what have you, Sweden. It is time. It is time you for once show us what you are really made of and are capable of, and for once show us you are able to do what you so profess and claim that you want to do.